This is Star Citizen 4.0, the first inter-system jumps, the first new star system, a space of different vibes, different rules, and different secrets to find. Alongside the new star system of Pyro, Star Citizen 4.0 is going to bring in a couple pretty key updates to the game. We're still weeks from an official launch with all those features, but the first waves of EPTU testing have begun, so closer than ever. Today we're going to run through what the first waves of testing have to offer to you if you want to check out Pyro and 4.0 right now. Pyro first, the biggest thing in the update, the one we've been waiting the longest time for, the one that was teased all the way back in like 2017 CitizenCon.
And right, and that little red, the red cluster you see up there is actually the Pyro system. So when we leave Stanton, that will be one of our destinations.
Pyro is here. It is the first additional star system to the game. It's got 6 planets, 6 moons, several space stations, but definitely less than Stanton. The system itself is actually much bigger than Stanton, so you're going to be dealing a lot more with shortages of resources and commodities, and it makes you have this kind of feeling of always looking over your shoulder, always wondering where your next stop off is going to be. The thing we haven't really gotten to figure out in Evocati is how much your faction reputation is going to factor into that, because that hasn't been in the Evocati part of this. So with this now happening in the PTU, we're all going to test together just how much your difference in reputation with different factions will change your access to other space stations and their services. Pyro also has a bunch of locations. Those 6 planets and 6 moons are not empty. In fact, when you find the points of interest in Pyro, one of the most interesting differences between this and what you would find in Stanton is that Pyro will have a central location with maybe a town or a settlement, but you'll find a bunch of different points of interest scattered throughout the area around that central location, almost like the hubs they talked about at CitizenCon, but I think on a smaller scale. So you'll find maybe a building here, a garage over here, possibly an antenna with a little outhouse next to it here, like just places you can tell that they're going to have local missions and fetch quests for you to go and do, whether by ground vehicle or by ship. And I like to see that kind of preparation. I hope it's something that we're using right off the bat here in 4.0, but it's at least there right now. There are also some new minerals and collectibles, new lootables that you can find around the system to continue to differentiate it from Stanton, make things that are available there, not in Stanton, so obviously they sell more and spur on the economy. We've got contested zones. These are kind of like the dark zones in the Division series. They're basically areas throughout the Pyro system where kind of anything goes. You can sort of go in there and look for loot and continue to progress through more and more difficult areas in these abandoned space stations that will throw other NPCs at you. They will throw environmental blocks at you that you have to get through kind of a puzzle solving. And then other players will also be there to kind of make it a little risky. You're gonna have to fight to get the good stuff, you know? So those are gonna be in the Pyro system along with asteroid bases. These are some abandoned old bases that take places in asteroids. Basically, they're like outposts in space. So you can go in, find these, loot them, explore them, whatever you will. Just be careful who you find while you're there. And then, of course, all the new outposts, they're all over Pyro. You can go and explore them. We've been watching colonialism outposts get designed for like 5 years inside Star Citizen, so finally we get to get them in our own hands. Hopefully they have enough stuff in them that makes them worth actually exploring though. Then there is the economy update. This is something we saw on the patch watch earlier this week. Had a couple key points that I think are going to be pretty important for 4.0. First was that items, fuel, weapons, components, consumables, they all got a price rebalance. So they're all getting brought in line with what our expectations should actually be going forward, and hopefully make us a little more aware of how much money we want in the bank for any given day of activities. Commodities also got an update looking at how they get sold, which box sizes work for which commodities, their price elasticity, the way that they're trading back and forth. Overall, just like balance to help make commodity trading a more interesting part of the game. It's something that actually changes over time. This was also followed by their effort versus reward manipulations. They talked about that earlier this year. Basically just how you can change the amount of reward you get based on the different risks that pop up while you're running a mission. It's dynamic, so it tracks if you get attacked by a pirate while you're doing a random cargo hauling mission, and it should lead to you not getting paid a little amount for doing a lot. And like I said, all of this has been done to entice more trading, to get people out there doing more of this industrial backbone of the game that they need. But honestly, I don't think it's going to be really all that engaging until they can get NPC cargo haulers out there. We need AI ships flying alongside us. Of course, with the new star system, there's also new changes to the economy there. Pyro is getting some new minables, as I mentioned before, so the economy is just stretching to accommodate these new commodities that you can find in Pyro that are exclusive to that star system, as well as the new lootables, maybe some new weapons or some new gadgets that show up there that you can't get in Stanton. The economy's got to shift because the supply and demand has to follow those being added. Server meshing finally is kind of the whole point of this update. We went over this a couple of weeks ago, but this was the big thing that was shown in 2016, and then again in 2018, and then again in 2019, and then again in 2021, and just every time there was talk of 4.0, server meshing is there. So we're finally getting it. This takes the full load of the game environment. All the millions of entities that get spawned in over time, the environment, the multiple planets, the moons, the space stations, and all the chaos that players can create, and splits it from just one instance to multiple servers in one instance, so that no longer is the whole game having to run with one server controlling you over on New Babbage, and somebody else floating around a spaceship over Lorville, and somebody else falling down a hole in Grimhex. It's gonna be split up and spread out. And that's the biggest part of this update. With this going to PTU, this is kind of the first large-scale testing of server meshing that CIG's ever done. Let's see how it goes. For this first test, it looks like they are going with about 2 servers per star system and about 380 players per shard. So even if it was split 50-50 between Stanton and Pyro, you should now be seeing about 90 more players in Stanton than you normally do, but let's be honest, everybody's going to be in Pyro. This video is obviously going out right at the beginning of this testing cycle, so I don't know how things are going, but I'm guessing they're a little bit rough. I'm sure we have plenty more work to be done before we can get this to live. Weeks and weeks of testing and just seeing how things perform. I think with 3.24.3 going live for IAE, all eyes are going to turn towards 4.0, so for the next month and a half, that's really all we're going to have to talk about. So let's see if we can get it done, if CIG can get it out.